Okay, so I think it was about February, my daughter came to me and she said that, Mom, you have to watch this video. Everyone at school is talking about it. And she's been telling me to watch quite a few videos. She's sitting over here. And I watched this video, and it was unlike anything I'd ever seen before. It was like a super professional music video, but no music. It was words like poetry, but about the most important issues of our time. And I watched this video that was about suing the school system that had about 50 million views at the time, I think, or probably even more. And I continued watching all of these videos, the productions that Prince EA has made. They're about education, about climate change, about racism, about the biggest issues of our time as a planet and as humanity, but also about heart issues, about love, about marriage, about loneliness, about how social media might just be anti-social media. And I'm so, so glad and proud and honored to have Richard here with us. He's touched me and about 2 billion other people. Thank you, and please come. And I also want to introduce, because I was supposed to do this fireside chat, and then Richard a few days ago said, Celia, I have this friend, Alyson Stoner, and she wants to join FutureTalks. She wants to be part of this. And she said, I'll watch dishes and do scrubbing of potatoes or anything. And I'm a big fan of hers too. So suddenly she booked her flight, she came over to Norway, and now she's a founding member of FutureTalks as well. Alyson Stoner and Richard Williams. Beautiful. Thank you.
Pick a spot, any spot.
All right.
You gave me the entire couch?
Yeah, of course. Hang out.
Hi, everyone. I'm so honored to help facilitate the first talk of today. And thank you. He's the reason that I'm here. I saw a post on his Instagram and decided it was the precise place I needed to be. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, can you walk us through briefly in your own words the moment that you discovered your passion and how you found the motivation to act and how you built it into what's now a livelihood?
Yeah. So I started about 10 years ago. I started out as a hip-hop artist. Right? I had this dream and ambition to be the best rapper in the world. You know, I wanted to be better than Eminem, Jay-Z, all these guys. And I was on a path to doing that, right? I was killing it. I was, in some magazines. I performed in front of tens of thousands of people. I was working with, Grammy Award-winning artists in the studio, and I was utterly miserable. And I was miserable not only because the comparing mind is really this crazy thing that we have. We constantly compare our position in life to somebody else's, and this is what I was doing, right? I wasn't happy with where I was in my career. I was looking at other artists saying, why aren't I, touring the world? Why aren't I getting, awards and this and that? And I decided to stop and figure out what's going to make me happy. I read the story about Gandhi, right? So back in the day, Gandhi, he organized and led this march. And after one day, he stopped. He quit. And all of Gandhi's, people, all his disciples, they were like, yo, Gandhi, how you gonna flake out on us like that? What's going on? You know what Gandhi said? He said something I'll never forget. He said, my commitment is to truth, not to consistency. He said, my commitment is to truth, not to consistency. And so I read this and I internalized it and I was like, I want my commitment to be to truth. And at the time, doing hip hop and music, it wasn't where my truth lied. So I went on this journey to find out, okay, so if this isn't it, what is gonna make me happy? What is it? Where is happiness? Is it in the palace? Is it in the cabin? Where is this thing called happiness? Where does it live? And so I read everything. I read all the spiritual texts. I read the positive psychology text. I read the anthropological text. I read everything. And I realized could be summed up from a guy named Wayne Dyer. Wayne Dyer, rest in peace, he said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And so I realized it's all about perspective. It's all about me. Happiness ain't out there, it's in here. All right? It's in here. It's all you. The world is you. And so from this understanding, I realized that also love, which is the true vision, the true seeing of a person. It's our natural state. Love is the answer to every problem we face on this planet. And so once I had this realization, I began to incorporate this into my content. So no longer was I trying to get on MTV or win awards. I was just trying to figure out, how can I spread love? How can I serve? How can I serve? You know? Henry Ford, he said, a business absolutely devoted to service will have only one worry about profits. They will be embarrassingly large. And so once I switched from self-service to serving everybody else in the world, my career went exponential. Not only with the tangible things, but with the internal, right? Peace that I attained. And so that was a long story, I know, sorry. That was the transition.
We have time for one question.
Hey, I'm not done yet, actually. So in 1988, just kidding.
So you mentioned commitment to truth instead of consistency.
Yeah.
And I know we're in a room, likely, I'm assuming, of high-achieving people, also high-believing people. How do you determine when it's best to withdraw and find solitude and reflect versus the ever-present pressure to act and keep the mission moving forward?
Yeah. This is kind of what I said on stage, which was like this whole idea of action. Like, we live in this world where we got to be acting, we got to produce, but I think it's not necessarily action, it's motion that a lot of people are doing, right? It's this whole treadmill. I think the solitude and finding that understanding of who you are is first, right? It's because the action will come naturally from that. Not from doing, but because you can't do anything else. It's who you are. And so that fragrance is going to emanate everywhere you go. Like, I don't feel like I'm doing anything. It's just who I am naturally. And
You just woke up like this.
I just woke up like this, yeah. It's that alignment. It's that balance.
A state of being.
So important. Yeah, state of being. Absolutely.
So do you choose the topic of your content based on what's popular or based on people's suggestions or what you believe is the most important?
Yeah, it can be I don't know how they come. It can be all those. It can be, because what's popular is where the consciousness is at the time. So if you can merge something substantial, you can inject it into something that's popular. This is a great recipe for success. You got to speak the language, so to speak. But ultimately, it comes from me. I always say this: the best kind of mantra or philosophy that I've had that has created my best work has been when I have approached that piece as though, if this is the last thing that I'm ever going to do, what do I say? If this is it, right? Death, this concept that a lot of people are afraid of. And yet if we can use it as a friend, as a motivator, it can show us how to truly live. And so when I approach things like, if this is the last thing I'm ever going to do, then it doesn't come out of the egoic space. It comes from here. And what comes from here reaches there. What comes from the heart reaches the heart. So that's a powerful motivating force that I use to create my topics as well.
You're so inspirational. Sorry. I'm going to give you so much poop for all of this.
Thank you.
So I myself am an artist,
Yes.
and I find that growing up in entertainment, when we think about the trajectory of our careers, we're wanting the respect from those who are at the top, or we prefer the underground freestyle world, and because they love the culture and the truth. When you think about the larger story and not just fans and people watching your content, whose respect do you want most? Have fun with that one.
Yeah,
I'll be over here.
Well, you answer that first, actually, because you are an artist, a talented artist. Whose respect do you?
Well, I think that's one of the reasons I'm here. I have experienced success, and when I'm in a room with executives, at the time I want their respect, but it's still from that ego, insecure place. But when I think about people who are daily, actively pursuing the problems of the world and trying to, use their life meaningfully, I want to show up to those rooms and have contributed something myself enough that they respect the larger story that I'm telling. So it's not about my career at all, ironically. And then that means I have to really do my work, and I have to really be serious about what I'm saying I care about.
Beautiful.
What about you?
Yeah. For me, I think the only respect that I want is to be able to die empty, to give everything. Because, if we seek external respect or validation, that is a double-edged sword. They say the same sword they knight you with, they good knight you with. So for me, I try to approach things without any expectation of a result, because I just know how flaky and unstable that can be to want the validation of somebody external. But if I can die empty, if I can go to sleep saying I did my best, that's peace.
And give yourself compassion along the way, knowing we're still humans.
We're still humans. Yeah, exactly.
When trying to find global solutions, I made questions about 5 minutes ago. Let me refer to them. There are a lot of layers of protocol and factors to consider.
Yeah.
What rules should we be breaking?
What rules should we be breaking? Okay. Like the unwritten rules, or what do you like?
So I'm thinking, I don't know, I Googled it and they said this was a great question to ask. In terms of conventional wisdom and people here who are adamant about doing things the right way, being respectful of everyone involved, are there any rules that you think are getting in the way, maybe political correctness?
Okay.
Something that comes to mind when I think about that is the status of people and maybe breaking the fourth wall and seeing ourselves all as students.
Oh, that's a beautiful one. Absolutely, absolutely. I abide by the philosophy, question authority. We can't take stuff just off of face value, or just because somebody is a scientist and they say this is the truth, or they're politicians, so they say this. This is how we grew up, going to school, just listening and respecting and, just blindly believing in the adults. And I think we have to respectfully disagree if it's necessary,
Otherwise, we would have arrived somewhere else by now. So that curiosity
Absolutely.
is important.
Absolutely. Huge. It's huge. And realizing that all the people you see at the top places, you know, they're just like you and me. They, you know, put their pants on one leg at a time. They when you really read the biographies of these people, I mean, they have the same flaws, the same, you know, insecurities about themselves as we do. And it takes courage to shoot for something and break through.
So what if you don't fulfill your mission?
Yeah, and this, I was probably going to be controversial, but I think the only mission I have is to be right here, right now. I don't necessarily have a mission where I want to see the world in a way that my mind has created, because this comes out of a controlling type of thinking. You know, every you know, dictator and you know, vigilante has thought that they were trying to make the world a better place. And so I have to be humble and realize that I don't know. I don't know what the world should look like. I can try to come from here and, you know, come from my truth. But ultimately, it's my mission is to be right here, right now. And that's already fulfilled. You know, it's fulfilling itself now. So I don't know when my last breath is gonna be, but if I can continue to be conscious of each breath, I've done my job.
I'm going to give you some claps for that one. We don't have a ton of time left, but I do want to see through if we can get through a couple more questions. The first being, you are constantly pouring out to other people, and I know what it's like to perform on stage night after night. It can be exhausting. What could we or I do to help you? Didn't think about that one, did you?
You got the good questions today. I think to be your authentic self. This is it. I don't want anything, but I think if we can be our authentic selves and always choose love, this is it. The future and all of this stuff, I don't know. But I do know if we continue to choose love, then what will emerge will have to be a world of love.
Are there any top 3 books or people that you can share with us that we can go home and start watching and reading? People who've inspired you or really reshaped your thinking?
Yeah. One of the books that I just finished reading is by a doctor. His name is Michael Greger, MD. He's got a book called How Not to Die, and he advocates a whole food, plant-based diet. And obviously, this is not only the best diet for the environment, but also the best diet for you as a human being, if you want to be healthy, if you want to live longer. So I think that book is amazing. I just finished that one. One of the first books, spiritual books that I read was called the Tao Te Ching, Book of the Way. Some say it's the wisest book ever written. It's cool. People love this book, like, you know, CEOs like Steve Jobs.
It's in my backpack right now.
Is it?
Yes.
It changes every time you read it, because you're looking at it from a different perspective. So that's 2. Another book. The second one, The Tao, Taoteching. Amazing book. Last book I would say is a book called Feeling Good. And this is a book on cognitive behavioral therapy, which is something that I think everybody should know, how to deal with your illogical thoughts and your rumination and thinking that can create a lot of depression. I think this book is gold. He talks about the difference between feeling better and getting better. A lot of people, the motivational speakers especially, they might, get you up, get you excited, you feel better. But to get better, this takes patience and practice.
Emotional intelligence development,
Emotional intelligence, absolutely.
resilience.
What about you? What are your 3 favorite books, real quick? What else is in your bag?
Unfortunately, we don't have any time.
Oh, we got time.
We have 20 seconds. Wow. I think right now I'm reading several. I'm actually reading the Tao of Pooh. And they're finding the symbolism in Winnie the Pooh and relating that to the philosophy. And it's very simple. I actually really enjoy reading people who make it accessible for everyone. Accessibility is very important to me. I've been in rooms with the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, and I would love for everyone to be able to recognize that if you can't teach a young person what you're trying to say, you might not actually know.
Absolutely.
As well as you think you do. So I always look for books that simplify and don't get too caught up in all of the academic essays all the time, but look for the people who have read them and can help guide me until I can interpret them myself. So right now we actually have a few minutes to take questions from the audience, and I already see hands raised, so let's go for it. Yes?
The biggest lesson that I have learned is you are not the mind. And I know some people in this room are going, you're not. But this is the biggest lesson. I think knowing who you are, what you are, is why we're here. I mean, if we're here just believing what everybody has been saying about the world and who we are, I'm black, white, all these countries, these lines drawn in sand, if we believe, this isn't a life that I was interested in living. I always wanted to know. And so if you can, my lesson is know who and what you are. Biggest lesson, I think. Because I think if we live a life without answering that question, then we missed something big.
Would you say the deeper you go in knowing who you are, the more universal and united you feel?
This is it. This is the separation, the illusion of separation that we have is just that. It's an illusion. Once you can be with it and see that many things that we've been told, they just don't hold up to scrutiny. Yeah.
I saw a hand over here. Yes.
Listening to you, I'm reminded of my practice during the summer vacation, which has been to listen to YouTube videos. And I listened to Oprah talking about her defining moments of change. And she had a beautiful quote where she quoted Gary Zukav, the book The
Seed of the Soul,
which I'm listening to on the way to the office every day.
Nice.
And she said, when you align your personality with the energy of the soul, magic happens. So it seems that that was the defining moment you had. You transcended your...
This is it. This is it, yeah. And the Tao, I mean, it talks about that alignment when I'm sure we've all experienced it. A lot of people say it's the flow, when the dance and the dancer become one, right? When who you are and what you do is just one. This is it.
So you first glow, then you flow, and then you go.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Yes.
I was just wondering, you've left music behind in that, but do you think you'll return to it's like kind of like enlightening vibes?
Absolutely. Yeah. I've gotten that feeling because music can reach places that politics can't. It can bring people together in a way that nothing else can. Music is powerful. Love music. So yeah, I just have to. The inspiration has to come and the energy has to be there. But yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So you talk about finding yourself, and that is important. So my question is, what best advice to do that? Because I
Yeah.
think that's what many people are struggling with.
Yeah. And it's so simple. It's, you're already that, right? Without the thought that you're not, you're already there. There's this great book I love. It's called What's Wrong with Right Now If You Don't Think About It. You realize that it's the judgments, it's the ideas that you have about the world that are really causing you a lot of suffering, right? Any thought about who you are is not you. Just like I can think about a tree right now. It's not a tree, it's a thought about a tree. So a thought about who you are is not who you are, it's a thought about who you are. But when you can get to a place where there's no thinking, there's no judgment, there's just this, the Zen call it beginner's mind, then there's just the now, the power of now, the presence. Because finding who you are is a little misleading too, right? I don't practice yoga like a lot of other people, but the word yoga means union. And really, you're already united. So it's kind of, you're in this imaginary hole and you have to build an imaginary ladder to come out. But truthfully, if you keep quiet, you're already there. It's the journey from here to here.
Can I add onto that a little bit?
Please, yeah.
I think two things that have really helped me, I know you didn't ask me, but I hope this helps, is assessing your own filter from the macro to the micro, meaning what country was I born in, what city or smaller place community, and how do they think and what do they believe? Looking at the teachers and people who have influenced you, your relationship to your mind, body, and soul, and going further and further and further and further and further, being curious about it and seeing where some filters and biases have come into place. And that allows you to start freeing the current paradigm you're in and seeing that things can be flexible. And then the second part to that is pursuing wholeness. As you approach conversations, is it leading you to wholeness, or is it creating more fragmented, destructive behaviors and thoughts? I think if you keep wholeness in mind, which is also compassion and love, then you start seeing a little bit clearer of a path and a direction, if that's what you prefer to follow. Those are two things that have helped me. We have time for one last question. Yes.
I'm going to copy a question I heard yesterday, which I thought was amazing. What do you do when you struggle? Actually, it's both of you, if we have time.
You want to take that first?
Nope, because we have 43 seconds.
Okay. Well, I might go for a long time, so you
Try it.
Okay, what do I do when I struggle? I guess it depends on how I'm struggling. I think one thing that I keep in mind is that things don't happen to me, they happen for me. So if I'm struggling with, issues, this and that, I realize that this is just here to make me stronger. Every problem is an opportunity to go deeper into who you are. And also rest. I think practically speaking, I think being still and observing the mind and because that's all it is. Struggle is just a thought. It's just a judgment about what's going on. So when we can see the thoughts and question them, is that thought true? And struggle, it falls away like the illusion it is.
And I'll piggyback on that. I try to reduce noise and find stillness. And then the practical tool I use is catch it, challenge it, change it, which is truly writing it down, catching the thought, challenging its validity, and then giving it a replacement. So you're not just trying to say, I don't want to believe this, but you can give a positive reinforcement. That's helped a lot.
Beautiful.
Therapy tools.
Catch it.
CCC, catch it, challenge it, change it. I've used that as well as a lot of sleep hypnosis, binaural beat, meditative apps to help reprogram, and I highly recommend it. So thank you so much for sharing.
It was a
Please give him a
pleasure.
round of
It was
applause.
a pleasure. Thank you, guys. Alyson Stoner, give it up, guys. One more round of applause.